Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi. We're in the week now of Korach, and we'll discuss that for a few minutes, and then we'll go into the deeper meaning of Korach, and we'll see that the Sedra last week, Shalach, and this week Korach, and next week Chukas, have three cheses in it. The traveling ches. Ches is the sign for chot, a sinner. Because Shalach, 10 of the 12 Meraglim were sinners, and they were punished. Chet, the big chet. The next Sedra Korach about a big chota that caused 15,000 people to die in 2 days. And then the next Sedra after that, Chukas, is a big chet if you come to the base of Mikdash and you don't have the water and ash combination of part of Aduma. So this is the ches, ches, ches. Now, that's the traveling ches. If you take the Sedras, Korach, Chukas, and Bolak, the next one, you have a traveling kuf. Kuf means Korach brought a klala, kuf, on Klal Yisrael. Chukas, in the statue, there's a part of Aduma about being un-tomei, because every human being is tomei. Even if you go to mikvah 50 times, 500 times, you have the tumas mace on you till Mashiach comes and tells us what is the you need a paraduma, a red cow, and so if you don't keep the laws, if chukas means how to be tahar, if you're not tahar and you're a kohen, eat shumi, chayv kores, or come to the base of English, should or eat any carbon or touch any carbon, you chayv kores. So chukas is about the laws of paraduma, and it has a kuf in it. Korach, that's a klol he brought on Klal Yisrael. He brought a klolim. Chukas is a kuf, a traveling kuf. Tremendous avera of kores if you eat kachim in tuma. And then Bolak, kuf klal. He wanted to curse Klal Yisrael. Bolak and Bilam. So we have the ches, Shalach, Korach, Chukas, the traveling ches. Then Korach, Chukas, Bolak, the traveling kuf. Ches and kuf is 108. Kuf ches, 108. The chotim have a klala, and they go to Gehenna. Gehenna is exactly 108. And Korach, Kuf Ches is 108. Reish in the middle, he's a Russia that went to Gehenna. It's interesting, right? Shalach last week is 338. Not only you send out Meraglim to spy out Eretz Canaan, but it hints to the year 338, where they were sent out of Eretz Yisrael after the destruction of the first Bayit, which is in the year 338. 3,338. Shalach. They were sent out of the country after Bavel destroyed the Bayit Rishon. The Bayit Sheni was another 490 years later, 70 years between the two, and 420 it lasted. So it's 490, about 500 years after 3338 is 3828. That was the second Bayit, which is in the secular year 70, 68 or 70. Now 1970 was 1900 years, and 1970 was 43 years ago, so it's 1943 years. We're in Golus Edom. So now let's talk about the parasha of Korach. Korach means baldy. He was a bald man. Bald. Korach is a bald person. Why did his father Yitzhar give him that name? Korach ben Yitzhar. Why did his father Yitzhar give his son the name Baldy? It's very embarrassing. Because Yitzhar had Ruach HaKodesh, so did Korach. Because it says that Moshe said the tent of Korach will, and the wife and the children will fall into the ground in a hole in the ground. Mishkan Korach. It's where the Shekhinah was with him. He had Ruach HaKodesh. The wealthiest man in Klal Yisrael. That's why he was so arrogant against Moshe. Korach is a Russia. As you see, Kuf Ches of Gehenna, the Russia went into Gehenna. But you know why he got so wealthy? Because he knew where Yosef Atzadik was a pharaoh for 80 years, 40 years under pharaoh and 40 years by himself. All his wealth he buried in Mitzrayim, that he shouldn't become a Baal Gaiva, an arrogant egotist. He buried it somewhere in the palace of the king of Egypt, and Korach knew where it was, and he dug it up, and he became a multi-billionaire. Korach was the richest man in Klal Yisrael. So his father knew when he was born, that he would be the wealthiest man. So he wanted to save him from being a Baal Gaigus. He called him Baldy. Korach. Korach is boldness. He wanted to save him. So his father had also Yeruch HaKodesh. We're talking about Levi, Moshe's first cousin, who carried the Aron on his shoulder. And when Moshe said at the Egel, Mil Hashem Elai, who was truthful to God, come to me, the whole Shevet Levi came. He's part of Levi. He said, Nasa v'nishmat Har Sinai. He didn't die in Mitzrayim with the 3 days of darkness. He was not part of the Mapilim, the super nationalists who went up to Eretz Canaan against Moshe's wishes and got wiped out. He was not from the Mapilim. He was not from the Egel people. He was not from the 3 days of darkness. He had Shruch HaKodesh, Mishkan Korach. Moshe's first cousin carried the Oren. Rashi says, how does a bright man get involved in shtus zeh, this stupidity? You start up with Moshe, you know you will die, don't you know that? This man that Moshe saw when he was 15 years old beating up a person, told him to stop, and they got him to fight. Moshe said, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the man dropped dead. His son, many years later, used the Shem HaMeforesh when he was, Moshe said, you're guilty. And Moshe had to get him stoned. And Tzalafchad, who was the second week out, when he was collecting wood on Shabbos, he did it to Shem Shemayim to show how severe Shabbos is. He wanted to give his life for that. So he was, Hashem said, you have to stone him. And Zimri, who took that woman in front of Moshe, Pinchas chopped him up. If you fool around with Moshe, you lose. You don't mess with the best because you come out dead. Pinchas understood, Korach understood, there's not a fool. What was it? So Rashi says, Lokach es atzmo. He took his atzmius, his ego. He says, wait a minute, hold it. I'm a Levi, and I'm going to serve in the base of, and I'm going to Kohen's assistant. And out of the 22,000 Kohanim, those who were between 30 and 50 were about 8,500. He's one of them. And Hashem told Moshe to tell Aaron that all the Leviim who are going to serve in the Beis HaMikdash have to be shaved with a razor, tar, which is also for a Jew to put a tar on his body, but this is an exception. All the face of his hair with a razor blade, eyebrows, eyelids, arm, back, front, every place on the body where there's hair, shave it off. Like a newborn baby. And then you pick up the Levi and you move them right and left, back and forth, up and down. All 8,500 of them Aaron had to do. So Korach had a very bad wife. He says, look at you. You're bald. They shaved your hair off. They moved you around like a piece of meat. Moshe's brother Aaron, he's a Levi. Moshe's brother's Aaron. He's a Levi, he's a Levi, he's a Kohen. He's a Levi too. He didn't get shaved. And he didn't get moved around. Maybe, why you? And when Moshe picked someone to be the head of the tribe of Levi, he picked Elitzophan, Ben Parnoch, your cousin down the line, your next youngest uncle, while he passed you over. So you better protest. So Korach's wife vexed him. And because of that, he listened to her. You can be the biggest Talmud Chacham in the world, but if you feel yourself, your ego, your I, your ani, the atzmius, that blinds you from every single thing you have ever accomplished. The ego, he was an egomaniac. 15,000 Jews died because of him in 2 days. He made a korcha b'Yisrael, a baldness, a blotch, a section was pulled out. Like if you lose clump of hair, that's called a korcha, baldness. So the father called him baldy, but actually when he was shaved, he was bald. The Levium were all bald. That was the 3 exceptions where you have to shave with a razor. A Matzorah and the Levium on the day of their inauguration, and a Nazir. So otherwise you're not allowed to put a razor blade on your body. And he didn't like that. And his ego did him in. And now you have another man they wanted to get, On ben Peles, the first pasuk in Torah. On ben Peles, he had a wonderful wife. He said, "Oh, Ben Peles was from Reuven." He said, she said to her husband, "What are you going with Korach for? He wants you in his group. 250 people were in that group. Why do you want to go for him? Either way, either Moshe makes it and Aaron stay where they are, or one of the 250 will be the Kohen and Korach will be the Melech. I mean, either way, you lose. You're nothing. You're still Reuven. You're still not. What are you getting involved in something you're not going to benefit anyhow?" He was a simple man. His wife, smarter than him, she had to make him drunk. She gave him something to drink, and when they came with him, Korach doesn't have here, and on 250 to pick him up for the protest against Moshe, he was drunk. So she stood in front of her tent, took off her sheitel, her head covering, whatever they wore, hat, turban, because all married women cover their hair, and she started combing her hair all the way in front of her tent. So when Korach came with his 250 people, he saw that, oh, chas v'sholom. Oh, but can't look at our rayos. Oh, ser be'isha erva. The ser in a married woman is erva. He wouldn't look at that. He was very makpid in a rayos. But kafira, no problem. To go against Moshe means to go against Hashem. Everybody knows that. You cannot be for Hashem and against the shliach. Shlucha shalom kamoso. The Muslims hate the Jews, but they love Allah. Don't believe it. That's not Allah what we believe in. Elohim says you don't kill other people because they don't believe in your religion. Even a Jew who doesn't believe in this religion, don't kill him unless he does some open Aveiro and Shabbos or whatever, Avodah Zarah, and they warn him. But still not believing, no one kill anybody. That's not the God of Israel. If you hate the Shliach, you hate the God. So I told you, Moshe and Hashem, same letters, right? And Moshe is the 26th generation, and Hashem, Yud-Kevavki is 26. It was Adam to Noach, Noach to Abraham is 20 generations, then 6 more. Yitzchak, Yaakov, Levi, Kahos, Amram, Moshe, 26th generation. So if you hate Moshe, you hate Hashem. So he wouldn't look at a Ser Be'isha Erev Chas V'Sholom, right? Ooh, no. That's not his weakness, but kafir is no problem. So some people have the Shulchan Aruch divided, Yeridea and Kashrus and Tznius is very important. But Choshen Mishpat doesn't mean nothing. You have to have it all or nothing. You have to believe in it all and keep it all the best you can. All right, now we have this guy Korach. Now we have like this. So Yikach Korach, he took himself out of the community. Ben Yitzhar, the son of Yitzhar, Ben Kahos, B'nai Levi, but Dosim Abiron, and 2 people that hated Moshe, they're also going to get nothing out of it, because they're not from Levi, they won't be a Kohen, and Moshe is like a Melech, and Aaron is a Kohen Gadol, and they both come from Levi, and Dosim Abiron come from Reuven, so either way, they're not going to get anything, but they hated Moshe from the youth, because Moshe, when he was young, when he saw them 2 fighting, the 2 brothers-in-law, Dosim Abiron, he said, Rosh Hashanah, Sakarecha, why are you hitting your friends? So he called them Rosh. And they hated him for the last 8 years. B'nai Aliyah, V'on Ben Peles, B'nai Reuven, Yakum and Fei Moshe, they stood up in front of Moshe, V'anoshe B'nai Yisrael, and other men of Yisrael, Chamishim Amasayim, 250. The Siha, they were the princes of the community. He's 250. Kriye Moed, they were called on all the time, the great advisors. Anshe Shem, men of great renown, wealthy, brilliant, intelligent. They were the head of Sanhedrins. So you say, why 250? What's the difference? A lot of people. Doesn't it say by Matan Torah, if anyone rushes the mountain, V'naflu Memenu Rab, many will fall. Even one person, Rav Gemara says, Hashem will have to kill him if he touches Har Sinai. Maybe it means 5,550. It doesn't tell you a number. How come here he tells you exact number, 250? You have to then darshan the number. What's 250? Every Sheva, this 200 people in 50 were from every Shevet. These 11 Shavatim were against the Shevet of Levi, run by Moshe and Aaron. 11 times 23 is a Sanhedrin for felons that can paskin you to life or death. The Sanhedrin Gedolah 71, but there's many Sanhedrin Ketanos of 23. Well, 11 Shvatim times 23 people from everyone, exactly 253. There it was, 250 plus Korach, Dosan Aviram. There it is, 253. 250 plus Korach, Dosan Aviram. 253 people died on that day. Next day, 14,700 more. Take a look. Yikala al Moshe, they ganged up against Moshe, al Aaron, and upon, not al, upon Moshe and upon Aaron. Yom Aleichem, they said to them, Rav Lachem, you have too much, you 2 brothers. Nepotism. One's a melech, one's a kohen gadol. You have too much. All their community is holy. God is amongst them. We heard God's voice at Sinai. We're all Nevi'im. We don't need you. Why? We are all Nevi'im. Why do you lord yourself over the community of God? That's the lowest blow he could have done. Because Moshe is the biggest honor that ever existed. He fought with Hashem at the snare for 7 days. He didn't want the job. And you now hit him in the lowest blow. In his greatest attribute, he hit him. Why are you lording over Klal Yisrael as if they wanted to be the bosses? Yishma Moshe heard this. He fell on his face. He said to Korach, Boker in the morning. Not Ba Boker, sometime in the morning. The first second of the morning, which means when there's Alos HaShachar, 72 minutes before sunrise, when there's dawn. Boker v'yodel, you'll know. Hashem, God will let know who's him. Who's him? Meaning who's the leader. And that's HaKadosh, and who's the holy Kohen Gadol. He'll get close to him. The one he chooses, Yaakov, Elov will only get close to him, the rest cannot get that close. Azos to do this. Take each one of you, machtos, fire pans, skillets made out of copper. Korach, Korach, and all the 250 people. Hirsch calls them gangsters. Put fire on it, means hot red coals. Put the ketoris, made out of 11 spices, sprinkle it over. Lefnei Hashem, Mochar, before Hashem in the Kodesh Kedoshim tomorrow. Mochar, tomorrow. To be the man, Hashem, the God chooses, who HaKadosh, he's the Holy One. Rab Lechem, he told Korach, he talks to him in the plural with respect. Rab Lechem, should say Lechol, right? B'nai Levi, you have too much, B'nai Levi. You have the veal that no other Jew can have, and you want more? Because they said to Moshe, Rab Lochem, you two brothers, you have too much. Moshe said, Rab Lochem, you have too more than you can handle. No other person can come into where the Levium walk. Kohanim can go in the base of Mikdash, the Mishkan. No Levi comes in there. But the Levium can approach him as Be'ech HaChitzon. No other Jew can do that. You have already plenty. You want more. Now, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Korach said to his followers, you think I'm doing it for me? No, I'm really for your sake. I want you to realize this should be distributed amongst every one of us. Korach is so devious and so crooked and so deceptive. He knows that 249 must die. Because there's only one Kohen Gadol. He doesn't care about his 249 people. And they went along with this. Rosh Sanhedrios, each one of them 11 Shvatim times 23. They're all Sanhedrin 23 for felonies, for nefashos. They don't have this. The man's a charming, good speaker, but you're going to die. Because only out of 249 have to die. So you don't get that? You're not Amaratzim, you're too. Shows you were so enchanted by this man, this glib speaker, this guy who can speak so well and can induce you. By the way, he was the richest man in the world. Korach, he said he got Yosef's treasure. He paid him off, bought him fine clothes. This is going on for months and months before the story appears here. And he paid him off. And they were blinded by Shochad bribery. It's Masalaf Einei Sadiqim. Even the Tzaddik blinds you. Their ego, they said, yeah, maybe. And don't care that 249 will die. Meanwhile, they all died because all Rishonim. That's why they're guilty. So they complained next day against Moshe. Said, you tricked us. Not Korach, the main perpetrator, and those of you, we understand. But the 250 innocent people, they're just listening to Korach. You told them what to do. Take a fire pan, put coals on it, put sprinkler on it. They listen to you. You trick them. Moshe says there a few pages later, Am hamitem es Am Hashem. You killed off those 250. Moshe says, no way. They're not Amaratzim. They should have said, what? Go into Kodesh Kedoshim with Ketot? No way. We're not allowed to do that. Only one man a year can do that. Yom Kippur. Or even in the Kodesh. Only the Kohen Gadol goes in every day. Why did you fall for it? They're guilty. When Hashem told Adam and Chava, you can eat from all the trees, but this one not, And then the Nachi says, it's okay, this one you can do. See, you pushed Chaim and she touched it. He says, see, you didn't die. Why do you listen to him? Why don't you listen to the boss? Why do you listen to the Talmud? Gemara says, Divrei HaRav, Divrei HaTalmud, Divrei Mishomim, which one you listen to? The Rav or the Talmud? Why do you listen? Dr. Korach, you're guilty. That's why Adam was thrown out of Gan Eden and the Chava. Pain she has. The man has to work for a living. And the Nachash had his feet cut off. He was not Adam Mauritian. So how could he talk? He looked like Adam, he was a biped. Well, there's a lot of people that came before Adam Rishon. Homo erectus. That's what they called Adam Kadmon, the early man, but Adam Shama. So it says in Rashi there, Nachash was from, not Rashi, Chumash says, he was from the smartest, from all the Chayos, the most brilliant Chay of the Chayos. Homo sapien, Homo erectus. He was stood up on 2 feet. Hashem cut his feet off, made him like a snake. Hashem created him to test Adam. And Adam believed it. Not Kakao, I mean. Hashem gives you a Torah that makes a beautiful world so alluring to test you. Every time you do that area, you fail the test because you know it's Asra and you did it. Hashem makes it so alluring, Olam Hazeh, extremely in every department, whatever you choose. So alluring. Whole Olam Hazeh is the Olam HaSheker, which means it looks like and it seems like that's right and healthy, gesund and perfect, but it's against Hashem's will. So you're guilty. You get the Olam Hazeh, Olam Haba, you can just tell. Hashem said, why did you do this Aveira? He said, well, you gave me a Yetzer Hara. In fact, that's him right there. The Yetzer Hara, I recognize him. That's my Yetzer Hara. So the Yetzer Hara is going to smile at you, says the Medrash. Divrei HaRav, Divrei HaTalmud, Divrei Mishomim. Shaita you are. You listen to me. Every time you listen to me, you're a shaita. I caught you every so many times because you don't have how the system works. When Yaakov was fighting with the angel and the angel couldn't kill him, the angel was happy that he didn't defeat Yaakov. The angel says to him, give me a bracha. You beat me. I have now accomplished my mission. That's why I'm going to say Shira today. Because now I've accomplished by losing. You beat me. Give me a bracha. It's under Yaakov's control. Once you beat the Yetzer Hara, you got him under your control. When the Yetzer Hara tempts you, you're supposed to say, no! That's the test! You learn Torah all day long, and you go out of base medrash, you put that clicker, you look something on a computer, something filthy, you're not allowed to look at it. That's your test! Shouldn't have the computer maybe at all if you can't control yourself or not filtered. Or you see something and no one's watching, and so what's all the Torah you learned? It's only misfassav l'chutz when your lips out. You don't really mean it. The more you learn, the greater is your Yetzer Hara. We want to test you in your most powerful attribute. He says to Moshe, why do you lord over us? Ooh, that's a low blow. So Moshe said, okay, let's not make a test. I don't need this job. In fact, he fought with Hashem for 7 days. That's a snot. I don't want it. Yomer Moshe al Korach, Shimon, listen to me. B'nai Levi, I mean him. Very respectfully he talks to him in the plural. But he really means the whole Shevet Levi. Hey Levi, why don't you stop this guy? Levi, where's the whole Shevet Levi? He's from Levi. Shevet Levi, stick up for your Shevet. Get rid of this guy. You're really all guilty, Shevet Levi. Hamat Mikem, is it a little thing for you, Shevet Levi? God separated you from all Klal Yisrael. You're different. To come close to him, no one can get that close. Mishkan, do the work in the Mishkan to take it down, put it up, assemble it, disassemble it, and carry it in pieces, and transport it and build it when it comes to a place where they settle. No one can touch these Kalim and come near. They're only Leviim. You want more? To serve with between 30 and 50, you help the Kohanim with the buster, with the meat, with the korbanos. And when you're older and you can't do it anymore, you sing, because you can't do it korbanos without singing. And then if you can't older than that, you watch the gates, honor guard, 24 gates. You sing, because Judaism without singing is no Judaism. That's why we learn Gemara. You have a nigun, and you daven with a nigun. And you learn Musa with a nigun, because happiness, emotional and physical happiness, is avodas Hashem. Not a depressing thing. The whole thing must be with nigun. If you don't have verbal singing and instrumentals, you can't do that avodah. Judaism is happy, upbeat. That's why you never bring a korban at night. Night is when you're scared and intimidated. Only during the day. And you bring all your friends with you. You want kahuna also. You and your whole community. I know I did ganging up against me. Al Hashem and against Hashem, which is the same thing. But Aaron, Mahu, what's Aaron? Who's he? Kisolino love that you were ganging up against him. Kisolinu, you read it, but it's written with a vav, and you read it with a yud, vav, yud, vai. Woe on you! You're going to it's going to turn out bad. Moshe sent an agent called Dasan and Abiram, the two main perpetrators. Bnei Aliyah, the son of Leah, which is Reuven. Yomer Lo Nala, we're not going up to your bezdin. He sent him a subpoena, Hazmana. They didn't come up, Lo Nala. And from here you learn that Al Tiftach Pelas Satan. Never give the Satan an open mouth. They said, we're not going up. So the Gemara said, you're right, you're going down. You said it. We're not coming up to your bezdin. We're not answering your subpoena. Then they said to Moshe, it's a little thing. You took us out from a land of Zovas Chol with the Bosh. It's fine. A land that flows of milk and honey, imagine. We're beaten up every day. They couldn't even make bread. They had to throw dough in the oven, make matzah. It takes 20 seconds. That's called the Zovas Chol with the Bosh. You're delusionary. This answer is they could say it because they were the richest people. They were the Korach's friends. They also were kapos, Jewish police. You know, the Noksim was the Egyptian slave drivers, and the Shotrim were the Jewish people that made the Jews, make enough work and make enough bricks. And Dosan Abiyah took klep, punishment. If the Jews under them, the thousands of under them, didn't produce enough bricks, they got beaten by the Noksim, by the Egyptian Noksim. The Shotrim got beaten. So they do understand pain. Therefore, Moshe put Dasan and Abiram on the Sanhedrin in the desert, because when a person comes in front of them, they understand human feelings, pathos. They have no olim chaver. They know what it means to be beaten. They're not so fast to pass and eat guilty. Interesting. These rotten people, they loved him. They were front. They believed in God. They said Nasa and Ishmael. They were Har Sinai. They didn't like Moshe. Didn't like rabbinic Judaism. Didn't like the oral law, the written law. Oh yeah, they believe in God. They said. A lot of Jews who believe in God, they have a distorted view of what God is. God is only what came through Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, Gematria 6:13. Torah is 6:11, because the first two we heard directly. So Moshe taught us the other 6:11. Some people love God, they don't want to go through man-made rabbinic Judaism. Well, there's no such thing. It all came through Moshe. Every single thing, 90%, is everything rabbinic. How you know did film have to be black, square, leather? Where does it say that? It says put a mark on your arm, on your hand. So right here it says, Osaida, take a magic marker, put a shin for God's name right here. We say it has to be an arm, but where does it say that? And put an Osbein in Echel right here, put a dot. Who said they got to be film? Black, square, leather, who said? And you have to slaughter an animal with what? Where? Where does it say that? Muksa. It's all Rabbanah. 90% of everything is Rabbanah. If you don't have oral law, you have nothing. Even the first word doesn't mean in the beginning. Rashi says it doesn't mean in the beginning. In the beginning wouldn't be Bori Shona, Bori Kim, it's a Shmai V'Zorz. Bereshis means Smichos. Somewhere in the beginning, after it was Tohu V'Vohu for thousands and millions of years, Hashem said Yehi'ar. And that Yehi'ar is not light. It says Chizkuni, that's time. Because light was made on the fourth day. So if you don't learn Torah Shema Peh, you have nothing. You got it all wrong. So now, Hama'at, is it a little thing that you took us, said Dosan and Abiram, the lowlifes? Is it a little thing that you took us out of a land of Zovas Chol with the Bosh? The Hamisayim about Midbar to kill us in the Midbar? Ki historer, Oleinu gam historer. You want to lord over us also? Tistorer is a word of lordship. Do you know this word, which means big, has the biggest gematria of any word in all of Tanakh? Because they use the last three letters of the alphabet, and they're, the Shin Reish Tav, 300 200, Reishin Tov, 2, 3, and 400. So it's 1,500 together. The highest Gematria word is this word, Tistorer. Tov is 400, Shin is 300, that's 700. Tov is 400, 1,100. And Reish is 400, 1,500. The highest Gematria word is this word, Tistorer, then Gam Tistorer. Okay, Rabbi, so I want to tell you something, that's enough for today. I just want to say something. The Misonanim last week, they talked Lashon Hara against the Mon. Miriam spoke Lashon Hara against her brother. Meraglim spoke Lashon Hara about Eretz Canaan. Korach spoke Lashon Hara against Moshe, which really means Hashem. Balak spoke Lashon Hara against the Jewish people, and Bilam. All of them are Lashon Hara. How come Balak didn't get, and Bilam didn't get Tzaras? How come Meraglim didn't get Tzaras? How come Misonanim didn't get Tzaras? How come Korach didn't get Tzaras if it's Lashon Hara? Let me tell you. Korach really was kfir against Hashem. It really wasn't Lashon Hara against Moshe. That's why you only get Lashon Tzaras if it's against a person. Balak is a guy. And you don't get Tzaras if you're a guy. You get leprosy, but you don't get Tzaras. Korach was against Moshe, against Hashem. Meraglim really were against the land. You don't get Tzaras if you're talking against the land. Miriam, she got Lashon Hara, it's about her brother. The Misonanim, a fire came out and burned them up. They're talking about the Mon. You don't get Tzaras unless you talk about a person. The Meraglim, their tongue, elongated feet, couple feet long, stuck in their tabur, enter their navel, and the maggots and the worms came out of the mouth, down the tongue, eating up the inside of the esophagus, and out through the tongue, and eating the maggots and the worms, and they're eating them up alive, because they spoke with their tongue against Eretz Yisrael. And Eretz Yisrael is called the Tabur HaOlam, the place of nourishment for the whole world. All the three religions want that place, right? Tabur means the navel, that's where the child is, nurses from the mother inside. And the Eretz Yisrael is the Tabur HaOlam. They spoke against the most Eretz Yisrael is the source of nourishment of all religions. That's why the tongue stuck into the Tabur. And the Meraglim were killed that way. And and Korach, the ground opened up and swallowed him. Why? He talked against the creator of the earth, Hashem. That's why the earth took revenge, closed him up. And he's the only man that went to his death alive. He went Chaim She'olah, alive to the death. The only man that went to his death alive. What does that mean? So listen when it says, look, they left out Yaakov's name in the beginning here, right? Look, Yaakov also didn't die, right? Look at this. Yikach Korach, Ben Yitzhar, Ben Kohos, Ben Levi, not Yaakov. Yaakov Avinu lo meis, right? And Korach lo meis. One is living in Gan Eden, and one is living in Gehenna. Yaakov Avinu lo meis. The whole Egyptian government buried him. No, we know about that. Yaakov Avinu lo meis. Yaakov is Yisrael, didn't die. We're here. Like Yosef Chai. The concept of Mashiach Rishon, the first Mashiach will be Yosef. David Mel, Yisrael Chai v'Kayam. Yes, Mashiach is coming. And he lived, died, alive in the grave, whatever that means. First the Adama opened up underneath, that was a cavern, and then the Oretz on top split open. He fell into a grave. Him and his wife, and Dosan Aviram, 3 people, and they all have wives, there's 6 people. And Korach had 10 kids, that's 16. Each one has maybe 25 people. And the next day they ganged up against Moshe. They said, you tricked those 250 people and you told them to bring Torahs. You know that's only Kohanim. They're not Kohanim. They're not even from Levi. They're from all the 11 Shvatim. You tricked them. You're guilty. So Moshe said, no, they're not guilty at all. They're not tricked at all. They were egomaniacs. They wanted to be the Kohen. Even they died, 249 of their friends died. They were Shoim Gemurim. So why do you, then they say, Hashem tell Eleazar, Aaron's son, to take the pans that they put ketoras on, hot coals and ketoras. After the people died, the flames came out of the flames in their nose, burned up their neshama. The body was whole. They didn't do a sin of the body like a rayos or eating something. No, it's a hashkafa, wrong hashkafa. Burned up their neshama. They had a wrong hashkafa. Burned them up. How can you burn a neshama? Can't burn it. Didn't say they got kores. They burnt the place where they breathed from. Neshem. Your lungs. Inside the body was burnt up by fire. That means that outside the body was, they didn't do physical sin, they did hashkafa sin. Kfir against Hashem. They got burnt up, flame. So they want to say in the Gemara that the dos and Korach and dos and Abiram and the 250 who burned up will go to Gehenna and never get out. Some say they're going to get out because they had such a terrible, terrible misa. A misa mishuna is mechaber for all Yaveris. Dosan and Abiram and Korach went into the grave alive. Chaim she'ola. No air, no light, no food, but Hashem can keep you alive. Terrible death. Maybe that's a kapara. And 16 generations later, Shmuel Hanavi, the last of the Shoftim, the people said, we want a melech. He said, what's wrong? I'm your Shoftim. What's wrong? He didn't have the last 350 years. The 15 Shoftim in 350 years. When they came into Eretz Yisrael, until Shlomo was the base of English for 420 years, but 350 years that was Shoftim. He said, what do you need a melech for? Hashem Malkechem, God is your kid. God is your God. He's the 16th generation from Korach who said the same thing. What do you need a melech for? We all heard Hashem's voice. We're equal with you. Moshe said Hashem pointed and answered. Oh no, we don't believe it. It means that Hashem never spoke to you that way. He didn't believe in Hashem. He was a kofar, an atheist. And once you're convinced you're right, you don't see what's the consequences. So Yaakov Vinu lo meis, and Korach lo meis. Except he's living in Gadol, he's living in Gehenna. Some say that 16 doors later was Shmuel Hanavi, who said also the same thing. He was related to Korach. Tzadik katomar yifrach. A tzadik, like a palm tree, will blossom from you. That's Shmuel Hanavi. The last letters of tzadik katomar yifrach is Korach. Tzadik kuf katomar reish yifrach Korach. Tzadik katomar yifrach. Interesting, huh? He thought the schus of his great-great-great-grandson, 16 doors later, that he would be saved. Made a terrible mistake. That he dressed all up, his 250 hooligans, the Rishoyim, because they caused, that day, the next day after the 250 died, they ganged up on Moshe. 14,700 people died because the day before Moshe didn't save the 250. So 15,953 was the total. So they ganged up on Moshe. He got him, Korach ganged him up, and they put him on blue talesim, which represents, light blue represents Kisakov, irrational ideas, godliness, secrets of the Torah, secrets. He said, we saw Hashem. We heard his voice. We saw him at Yamsu. We heard him at Sinai. All blue talesim. They need a string also on the bottom, which is blue. Moshe said, yeah, but that's what it said. Still to start laughing at him. The talis is all blue, and he needed one string of blind reminder blue, because he said that's the halacha. And they start laughing at Moshe, mocking Moshe. That's already Chaim. Anyhow, Rabbi side, we're done, and we hope you got something out of it. And it takes the time, to go through this. It's not so easy. So listen to my shiurim on Kol Halashon every day. I got just past 2,500. It's 718-395-2440. That's the original official coalition from Bnei Barak that you hear without a charge to you. I just passed 2,500. Every day of the week we learn a little bit of it. That's where you get all the things in detail. Zai Gesund Rabbi Sai, and you're good.